You got it.
All right, so thank you everyone for being here. This is the Student Sustainability Leadership Panel. My name is Eric Urbaniak, and I'm here with Teresa Homsi. And so today we are going to play a presentation from President Davies, hear from Jay Kahn himself, and then some student leaders who run some different organizations on campus. So, Teresa?
Yeah, I guess Eric, you've already introduced me, but Eric and I are kind of the duo that runs Central Sustainability out of the Office for Institutional Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. This has been our first year. I think we've met our year anniversary since starting Central Sustainability. We started it back in April or May. Um, So I think that this is our first year, and this is clearly our first Earth Week conference. I suppose it's coming to an end, but definitely wouldn't have been possible without a lot of the people in this room. Max Ranger, I see Abby Shepard, Michael Buzzy, Lindsay Gibb. There's just been a few of the members who have been part of the planning committee, so big thanks to them. And I'm glad that even though it was in this virtual format, I'm hopeful that we can every year have something bigger and better going on here at CMU, something that can continue past just, all the people after we all graduate, it keeps going, kind of a legacy thing going. So,
So yeah, I think one of the biggest things to note about Central Sustainability is that it is supported by facilities management and the Office for Institutional Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. So it's kind of this like monumental effort to start building sustainability on campus. So really the purpose of this panel today is kind of to assist students, how can you get involved and why should you get involved? So to begin, we are going to start with a video from President Davies.
Thank you for inviting me to participate in this year's Peace Flag Ceremony. It is fitting that the flag raised over our campus today bears the words Pro Concordia Labor. These words mean, I work for peace. This is not only a peace flag, it is a work flag. That wording is extremely important. This flag says we don't merely wish or hope for peace. This flag says we understand that peace requires work, our work. Work is nothing new for us here at CMU. We do not just talk, we act. We do not simply like something on social media. We do something about it. It is part of our legacy. When E.C. Warner, CMU's fourth president, supported international peace in the early 1900s, he did more than talk and write about it. He got to work. He helped to organize the Michigan branch of the American School Peace League, a national network that saw education as a tool to end armed conflict. The work for peace continued in 1969 during the Vietnam War. Students here at CMU held sit-ins and placed 1,900 grave markers on the Warner Mall to represent the Michigan lives lost in the war. More recently, we saw our students marching for justice and peace in response to increasing hate and violence against people of color. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. once said, "True peace is not merely the absence of tension, it is the presence of justice." Working for justice requires integrity, respect, compassion, inclusiveness, and social responsibility, the very essence of CMU's core values. This is our jobs as members of the Central Michigan University community. It is not an easy job, but the work is worthwhile, and the cost of failure is too high to ignore. We were reminded of that price when we heard Amika Okada share her story. She was only 8 years old when she saw her city destroyed by an atomic bomb at the end of World War II. We are reminded of the need for peace every time we watch the news or scroll through social media. We feel the need for peace as we navigate challenging conversations with our friends, classmates, and colleagues. And we understand the importance of peace as we examine our relationship with the natural world. This year, we raised the flag as we honor Earth Day with a student-led sustainability conference. This year, the conference will reflect on the impact of nuclear weapons and nuclear power on our environment. and this is truly a timely discussion. In January, the Treaty for the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons took effect, yet every nuclear-armed nation, including the U.S., declined to vote on this important act. This is a 10-year anniversary of the Fukushima nuclear disaster in Japan and the 35th anniversary of the Chernobyl explosion in Russia. Issues like the nuclear future of our world have no easy answers, but we owe it to ourselves and our communities to seek solutions. When we see this flag flying over Warner Mall, we remember the people who have worked for peace at Central Michigan University for more than 100 years. We also remember and commit to the work that still remains before us. Thank you for being part of today's ceremony and for doing the challenging, important work of peace.
All right, so thank you all for listening to President Davies. So I'm guessing a lot of you are wondering what he is talking about and what this is like in reference to this peace flag raising that happened yesterday. So that is why we have Michael Buzzy here to talk about that. So take it away, Mike.
Thank you, Eric, for that introduction. Hello, everyone. My name is Michael Buzzy. I'm the ambassador of Persons, Places, and Ideas for the Center for International Ethics, and it is an honor to be with you all here this afternoon. So yes, Bob Davies remarks, what is this connection to the nuclear issue? What is the peace flag? It may seem a little off-putting to begin this sustainability leadership, this panel off with something that seems sort of disconnected, but I promise it all ties in. So the Center for International Ethics' main sort of educational effort this semester has been on the nuclear issue, and even beginning at the end of last semester. So in October of 2020, the 50th nation to ratify the treaty for the prohibition of nuclear weapons, which was Honduras, ratified the treaty. And so then on January 22nd of this year, the treaty entered into effect. And so then what that means is that nuclear weapons are now illegal under international law. Very same level and same legal category as other horrific weapons of war and mass destruction that we know of: mustard gas, anthrax bombs, other biological weapons of mass destruction that result. I'm sorry, I do not know why that started playing. So yes, the treaty took into effect, which then ties into the efforts that the Center for International Ethics has been undergoing. So in part, we have been coordinating with the Hiroshima Peace Memorial Museum based in Hiroshima, Japan, and they sent us a poster exhibit. And so I will hold up the flyer. The exhibit is titled "A Revolution of Thought: Hiroshima and Nagasaki in the Pursuit of Peace." And so through this educational effort, we have been taking individuals and other CMU faculty and donors from the community on tours to educate them on the long line of activism that has occurred in these past 75 years since the bombings in August of 1945. And so the peace flag ceremony, which has been this institutionalized thing at Central Michigan since around 2014, and then this year was the 6th time in which it had been raised. And so each year it is signified and used to mark other various events that are occurring around the world. One year it was used to mark the 100th anniversary of the U.S.'s entry into World War I. Last year, if it would have been raised, it would have marked the 100 years of women's suffrage. And then this year it was held on Earth Day yesterday. And if you go on to Warner Mall, you will see the flag there, which will fly for a couple of weeks. And we used it to mark not only Earth Day, but also this nuclear activism that I have been discussing. And so the flag and the peace movement itself is very intertwined into sustainability and almost inexorably linked, especially when looking in terms of the nuclear issue. That when you have a weapon that goes off hotter than the surface of the sun, that is in no way antithetical, that is completely antithetical to fostering a world in which individuals would be able to live in peace, harmony, and in a sustainable way with the environment around them. And so this title, "A Revolution of Thought," is really a profound concept in that it forces one to interact with new ideas that completely change their conceptualization and the foundation of knowledge on which they see the world. And so the peace movement does this through symbols such as the peace flag, such as hearing from individuals who survived the atomic bombings. And the sustainability movement does this through giving individuals new lenses and new perspectives on the world at large to change the way in which individuals view and conceptualize the relationship with the environment and with each other. Because as we know, sustainability is much larger than just a conservation issue. And so Bob Davies' remarks were acknowledging the conference and then primarily flag raising. He was meant to be in attendance, but there was a board meeting. And so, yes, we play the marks, and the connection into that is that both issues are inexorably linked. Complex, yes, but through the continued efforts of individuals like all of us here gathered here today, we will be able to hopefully one day realize or continue on the traditions that we have started here with the individuals who will come after us. So with that, I will pass it back to you, Eric.
I'm gonna take it. So thank you for that, Michael. I am, for everyone who's a little bit confused about everything, because we're making a lot of references to things that have happened throughout the week. I'm dropping the link to the website that has all of the past events. We will be updating this page with all the video recordings that we received from the events that have already occurred, including the peace flag raising as well. So y'all can check that out. And with that, I'm going to move in and introduce Jay Kahn. I mean, I guess I could introduce you, but I'm going to leave that to you, Jay. Just talk about student involvement and whatever you have prepared for today.
My name is Jay Kahn. I'm Director of Facility Operations at CMU. That means maintenance and custodial, and also I wear a sustainability hat for the university in terms of managing the university's waste stream. So CMU's waste stream is, in rough numbers, about 2,500 tons per year that is carted off CMU and handled a number of different ways. About 40% of that 2,500 tons is diverted from a landfill by various methods. So that's 40%. And to give some kind of perspective on that diversion rate, whether it's good, whether it's bad, whether it's average, the state of Michigan as a whole has an 18% diversion rate. The nation as a whole is low 30s, 33%. In the surrounding Great Lakes state, Michigan is the lowest diversion rate of the 6 surrounding states of the Great Lakes. What does that mean? What does the future of sustainability mean to me? I think it means jobs. Jobs for you. Part of my job. We're talking about the recycling circular economy. The United States, as well as Michigan, is forwarding legislation and putting significant funding towards grants to create an economy that is circular. Right now, if you were to Google next cycle Michigan, or next cycle Colorado for that matter, and you can take a look at all the micro grants that are out there to basically create an economy that is sustainably driven. And this will happen in a significant way in your generation, not mine. So if you're looking for a job, it's pretty, you know, how you like to get in on the ground floor of something, this is it. So practice, or how do we practice sustainability at CMU? I mentioned the diversion rate, 40%. So there are the 3 R's: reduce, reuse, recycle. So we're buying items that have a much smaller ecological footprint than we used to. We got an award for it 10 years ago, is moving to green cleaning. So environmentally friendly and pH neutral chemicals that we use on campus to clean our classrooms, as an example. We also purchase trash can bags that are 70% recycled content post-consumer, which is unusual. We actually gather up our plastic waste and we sell it to the same people that we buy trash can liners from, and they make trash can liners out of it. So it's absolutely circular. The food waste that comes from our cafeterias and dining halls, we truck that over to a composter over in Sears. We do about 330 tons of food recovery a year. We're nationally known for food recovery in a good way. What to do more? Well, to do more, I think that's really a student-based issue. To do more, I saw Teresa Homsi create a food, or actually a personal waste audit video that I thought was tremendously impactful. I think she might have got the idea when I told her if you really want to see what's next in sustainability, you have to look in your trash, which is true. And so she looked in her trash and made a video out of it. I thought it was pretty cool. Sustainability pledges, that's important. Outreach and education to your peers, I think that is one of the most significant things you can do, is to get people to look in their trash and talk about it. Then maybe, the next time you go to put something in the trash, you'll think that there's maybe a different solution. The future, the immediate future, I think, is organizing our various community groups. As an example, I'm part of a 4-person ad hoc committee that includes the county, the city, Saginaw Chippewa Indian Tribe, and CMU. And we get together on a quarterly basis and talk specifically about our waste streams and how we can reduce our footprint on the world in terms of waste. One of the things that I'll be looking at over the next couple of weeks with the city of Mount Pleasant. City of Mount Pleasant has a wastewater treatment plant, and part of wastewater treatment is anaerobic digesters. And they have 2 anaerobic digesters, had them for a very long time. Their capacity, they're using about 40% of their capacity. So instead of hauling our food waste 45 minutes to Sears to go into a compost pile, we might be just taking it over to the city and using their anaerobic digester. So, it's those types of community actions, decisions, partnerships, if it were, that grow this movement. And when I see RSOs working together, that reminds me of this. When students create videos that describe what is important to them in environmental activism, I applaud that, encourage it. I think it is strong. It is tweeting, whatever else you guys do. As far as your social network, you got to keep doing that, and you have to steer it towards what you want your future to be, because you will create that. Won't be me. I won't be around. Advice. So I think the last bullet point that Eric wanted me to talk about is if a 55-year-old guy has advice for a 20-year-old or 25-year-old, I would say you have to follow your passion, and you will probably automatically do that anyway because you will gravitate towards things that interest you. And if you do that, um, you're probably going to make a difference. At least you will be a happy person. And I think that that is the most important thing, is that you are happy as an adult. And if environmental activism makes you happy, you should do that. And if you feel that nuclear weapons are something that need to be outlawed in the world, then you should work towards that end. Um, you just need to follow what you're interested in, and you will get there, and you will be successful, and you will be happy. Don't worry about it. You will get there naturally and organically. Who's got questions?
Jay, I thought that was really good. It kind of reminded me what Mike was saying of like how these are all linked, all these social issues and the environmental issues. Like one of the things we talk about at a lot of our panels this week has been that you cannot solve environmental issues unless you also address social issues. So I guess, how do you recommend that students kind of try and tackle those DEI, injustice, equity sort of issues at the same time as the environmental issues?
So DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion. So if that is your flag and you are carrying that around with you, then try to have conversations with other people about those principles, and try to weave that into your work. Um, be creative. I think the most creative thing you can do is try to affect other people in your thoughts and actions. And so, as an example, CMU is I think we're managing our waste stream in the most responsible way we can, considering the infrastructure in state and local government. And what we try to do is through our partnerships is to increase that foundational structure of our immediate area and how they handle waste. As an example, Teresa and I and Don Long, who also works at the university in managing recycling, went over to a landfill a couple months ago, take a look exactly how that landfill operates, and they capture methane gas, which is a big problem in climate change. And so, we're doing business with people that we feel are responsible actors on the world stage. And, you can vote with your wallet, you can vote in person, you can vote virtually, you can make decisions that reflect your values. And I think the university, we're about 25%, I think, into renewable energy with our where we spend our money, and that's important. Um, a lot of ways you can make a difference in the world. Be thoughtful and be intentional in your actions. It will take you far.
Awesome, thank you. And I agree with that completely, that people need to find their passions and follow them. I think that makes the biggest difference in the world, rather than people forcing themselves into careers where they'll feel stuck for a long time. So does anyone else have questions for Jay? Or if not, we'll move on to the students. All right, awesome. So Then for this next little session here, we have 4 amazing students here. We have Megan, Max, Michael, and Abby, who are going to talk about their organizations and kind of what they're doing and the people in their organizations are doing to make a difference at CMU and in the community. So first, we'll start off with like introductions. So introduce yourself and then your organizations. So let's start with Megan.
Hello, my name is Meghan Martinski. I am the current president of the Student Environmental Alliance, or SEE for short. I've been a part of this organization for about 3 years now, and I am a senior this year. Our organization focuses on sustainability for students on campus, and we like to focus on what our students are interested in, but making sure that CMU is being as sustainable as possible and environmentally friendly as possible.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And then Max?
All right, hi, I'm Max Ranger. I'm the president of the Central Student Sierra Club, so the CMU chapter of the Sierra Club on campus. So our whole thing is just summed up into 3 words. So that would be preserve, advocate, and explore. So our whole mission is just one, to work towards the preservation of the environment, and that's, by doing hands-on work like parks cleanups, that kind of stuff. Advocate, so advocating for environmental change at the government level, government, nonprofit, that kind of stuff, working to get legislation that is good for the environment passed, and exploring, so going out and actually exploring the areas that we're working to protect, to learn more about them, to learn how to better serve them. Yeah, so we just do a lot of advocacy for the environment and hands-on work with it as well. Less traveling in the times of COVID, unfortunately, but hopefully that'll be changing soon.
Thank you. And hopefully we can discuss that today, some of the environmental benefits of COVID. I mean, it's pretty surprising. So then Abby?
Hello, everyone. I'm Abby Shepard. I'm the president of Take Back the Tap. We are an organization that works on ending water privatization and increasing access to safe drinking water on campus. And our solution for doing that is trying to convince the university to end the sale of plastic water bottles on campus because they present such significant environmental and equity issues.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And then lastly, Michael?
Hello, everyone. Yes, as I said at the beginning, my name is Michael Buzzy. I am the ambassador of Persons, Places, and Ideas for the Center for International Ethics. And the Center for International Ethics' whole goal, mission, is to change the hearts, minds, and souls of individuals through educating them and inspiring them by the transmission of positive history, which is very different from many other individuals' conceptualization of it, where you study tragedies and wars and all this stuff, but we really focus on activism, individuals who have really gone out and labored for their cause that has truly, in their own way, shaped the hearts, minds, and souls of individuals in their community. And then through educating individuals on that, we hope that they will then find the thing that they feel that they can then go out and labor for a better world for. So I feel that many of the individuals here definitely are emblematic of that positive history. So no, I'm very honored to be here today.
All right, and thank you for those introductions. I'm gonna kind of transition more into the subject of the panel. We're talking about y'all are here representing student sustainability leaders, and so obviously, you're talking about from the perspective of your organizations, but what does sustainability mean to you individually, personally? So I think we're gonna stick with the order that we've kind of set up. So we'll take it back to Megan.
I think for me, sustainability means being mindful of the things and the actions that you're doing, especially when it comes to the environment. And it's more of, in my opinion, a lifestyle, sustainability is, and it's living in a way that's, I guess, as little wasteful as possible, and sustaining the resources that we have been given to us on Earth. And yeah, that's it.
All right, Max, you want to follow up on that?
Sure thing. Yeah. So to me, sustainability, just honestly, just like what Megan said, it is a lifestyle. You have a set of beliefs that the right thing to do in life is to, go get to live sustainably. So from, ethically sourced by ethically sourced products and that sort of stuff. It's everyday actions that we make in our lives. So, instead of going and getting, the cheapest food and groceries possible, maybe we pay a little bit more to, make sure that like the groceries that we're getting or the clothes that we're wearing aren't contributing a massive amount to global warming and pollution. So that kind of stuff. And then also it's you know, when you're able to, it's advocating for change, for sustainability at a higher level. So that way it's not just like, at the, yeah, there's, I don't know, it's complicated. I guess sustainability at two levels. So the individual and like the higher group level, I guess. So, yeah.
Right. So for me, I mean, I agree with both Max and Megan, but for me, sustainability means dismantling all systems of oppression at all levels. So um, at your personal level, at the interpersonal, at the institutional, and at the ideological levels. And so that we can build a world where all living beings, both human and non-human, and the planet can flourish. It's a lifestyle that we humans are reintegrating ourselves into the web of life and living in a way that causes the least amount of harm for all other living beings. For me, it means building communities that support each other, especially in times of crisis, but also in times of joy and celebration. It also means giving land back to the people whose land that is, and making sure all lives are valued for being human and having this holistic approach to life where we prioritize rest and rejuvenation and make that a part of our regular routines.
No, I think those are all amazing answers. And truly, each piece integrates into what it means for me personally to be sustainable. And I draw a lot of parallels between the sustainability movement and actually the nuclear issue, which, may seem very strange as to how, something that seems to be so focused on one thing, atom bombs, can then even translate to something that may seem larger complex, such as sustainability. But they're very, very connected. And that if you have an interest in something, you can find that within the sustainability issue, whether it's community building, you can find that sustainability. If it is what many individuals consider to be traditional sustainability, the conservation, you can find that in there as well. Racial justice, environmental racism, you can find that in the sustainability issue as well. All those same things also translate to the nuclear issue. And so one very profound concept that has come out of the individuals who have survived nuclear bombings is this concept of a revolution of thought. It was in the first democratically elected mayor of Hiroshima, Shinzo Hamai's mayoral declaration, and that us experiencing this thing has truly caused such a perceptual shift in our thinking that we cannot continue to have this desire to wage wars of imperialistic conquest and dominance over the people of our neighboring nations, because with the advent of nuclear weapons, it is impossible for us to do this without risking the utter annihilation of the entire human race. And so in many ways, I've had this comparison drawn to me as well from Vanda Proshkova. She is the co-convener of Youth Fusion, which is an NGO based out of the European Union. And she has described her that climate change is a slow-moving nuclear bomb, that it is truly our complete disregard in the way in which we interact and have a relationship with the environment and the individuals around us is leading to something that will eventually cause massive catastrophes for many individuals around the world. And so for me, it is really about this complete revolution in thinking for people when many individuals conceptualize the environment as this thing at our disposal and the things within it, and even the people within it, as things to be used towards certain ends, whether it's economic, personal power trips for certain individuals, that it is a shift for an individual to realize that my relationship with my community and with the world as a whole is much deeper. It needs to be inexorably linked with who I am as an individual. And so to embody that is something that I think each individual needs to go out and discover for themselves. What part of building a better world drives, as Jay had said, what is that passion? What is that drive for you personally? And so whether it is through building more peaceful, equitable communities or finding ways in which to run a facility such as university in a more sustainable way that leaves a smaller carbon footprint. All of that is inexorably tied to the furtherance of a more sustainable, a more peaceful, a more equitable society, and then which will translate ultimately into a better world.
Thank you for all your answers. I just want to make a note that Jay's advice before he left was making, his advice was doing things based on your values. And so I think that that's a theme that showed up in all of your individual answers. So for Megan, uh, you talked about like doing what's causing the least harm, producing the least amount of waste in your life. And Max, you kind of took that as well. And you and Abby both connected on the building communities. And here you have Mr. Philosophy Man, Michael, over here, really talking about the value system and understanding how we're interconnected. And I just think that that's really neat that even though all of your answers were somewhat distinct, that there is that running theme that doing things because of some sort of value, either in humanity, like Abby was kind of implying there. And, the big question is like, well, what do we value? How do we know what to value? That's something that we, even as individuals, are kind of um, disconnected and we kind of disagree on. But I think that doing what's the least harmful and what's of the best good, like I said, very hard to define. Really interesting points that y'all all brought up, and I like that they all somehow connect. So going from there, y'all kind of described your personal connections to sustainability. So how do your organizations practice, and I'm using the word actualize sustainability um, in whatever way, honestly. Megan, you want to take this one?
Yeah, sure. So our organization specifically focuses a lot on sustainability, and something that we really value is sustainability on a smaller scale. I think that it's kind of difficult as college students to look to the bigger scale and be like, how can I like live sustainably, especially when we're faced a lot of like bigger issues like climate change and stuff like that. So our organization really focuses on the smaller scale, what students can do. And in terms of actualizing sustainability, we have a lot of presentations and stuff on what students can do in terms of the topics they're interested in, living sustainably. And I think that in normal years, our organization focuses a lot on going out and taking action, volunteering, and especially we do a lot of like park cleanups and stuff like that. And practicing sustainability in our own homes, I think, is one of the biggest things that we stress in our organization.
So what Sierra Club does is I mean it's uh, we try and embody sustainability in each action that we do. So, for example, so we've done several parks cleanups, hikes together, advocacy work. It's all centered around sustainability. So, for example, last week we did a park cleanup at No Pond Park, and the bags that we used to pick up trash, they weren't bought at a store. They were already ones that like people had left over for bringing groceries. They didn't have reusable shopping bags, that kind of stuff. So it's like all, even in our like trying to make up for the pollution that's already happened, we're trying not to add any more of that, even if we're, have the goal of fixing that thing. So same with our advocacy work. So in the fall, when there was some stuff going on with Line 5, which is now shut down, we did a lot of phone calls to the Michigan Department of Environmental Quality, as well as Department of Energy and Climate, I believe is what that office is called. Yeah, to try and lobby for that line to get shut down because it's new infrastructure for old technology, that is for old energy production means, which are harmful to the environment, to communities, to Michigan values, really. So we try and actualize sustainability in each of our actions that we take. So for one thing that we haven't been able to do yet, just because of what's happened with COVID and everything. So for those of you that don't know, Sierra Club is a relatively new organization on campus. So We've only been around since February of 2020, so about a month before the pandemic shut everything down in the US. So we had big plans for a lot of travel sort of things, to go to national parks out west and take advantage of that. And while those never happened because of COVID, the preliminary plans were to use sustainable methods of transportation. So not flying and not driving our cars either, taking public transportation in the most ways that we could. So buses and trains, mostly. Um, yeah, and then while we're, at each place that we would like to go and travel to, it's picking up trash, finding some other way along the way to make it better than when we got there in the first place.
A lot of what we do with Take Back the Tap is some of it's gonna echo Megan because we work so closely as Take Back the Tap and Student Environmental Alliance, and really focusing on like the education and awareness aspect, especially since we run this campaign that's focused on the idea of water privatization, which is basically companies taking water and turning it into a commodity. So, for example, Nestle will they have it here in Michigan, they'll take groundwater and then they take it back to their facilities. They put it in these plastic water bottles and then they sell it back to us at inflated rates. And we operate on this belief that water is a human right and that we shouldn't have to pay for something that we need to survive. And in terms of our work on campus, our focus is making the campus more sustainable and holding our university accountable to making sure that they are supporting students. They are allowing our campus to be a community where everybody can flourish, and not having partnerships with organizations that are ultimately exploiting people, whether that's in our community or in the broader global community. And something I really like to focus on in our organization is really making it people first and like building that community, even if like we're not a huge org, making sure people know that they're not valued just for the work they're doing or the commitments they're making to the organization. We value them for their full humanity when they come in, and making sure that we're taking care of each other and supporting each other, especially in this past year when it's been really difficult to do organizing because we're all just so burnt out and there's so much going on in the world. So being able to be flexible and understanding when people come to the plate with some other things, and hopefully our work as an organization supporting each other can then blossom out into the rest of the community. And on the same topic of like intersectionality that we talked about in the last question, a lot of people know the environmental consequences of like the plastic water bottles, but a lot of people don't realize how much of an equity issue it is too, because when water is commodified, it mostly hurts communities of color and low income communities, who are the ones who then can't afford those higher prices of water. But if water is privatized, they're forced to pay that, and that can sacrifice other needs that they have to pay, whether that's housing or food or whatever. And a lot of the facilities that produce plastic or make the plastic water bottles are located near communities of color. And so then those communities are disproportionately affected when it comes to producing the plastic and feeling the impacts of the chemicals and the oil that goes into that process. So we use that, make a broad coalition across campus. So being able to work with people at both Teresa at Central Sustainability and working on Earth Week, where we work with people like Michael Buzzy doing peace work, and working with political organizations to make sure we're working on policy and building this broader coalition so that we can really make this place a community.
The Center for International Ethics approach to sustainability is very similar to what you had touched on, Abby. Very profound, and it resonates so strongly when you say we value the individuals in our organization as full human beings for themselves, not just what you contribute to this organization, but you as a person and all of your inherent worth and value being injected into this makes it better in and of itself. And that's pretty much the exact same approach we take. Philosopher Immanuel Kant touches on the exact same thing. For him, morality is treating people as ends in and of themselves and not as means to goals of whether it be economic well-being for one individual at the expense of others, or even that can be tied to the environment, that the environment is something that should be viewed as an end in and of itself, something that should be respected, valued, nourished, and cared for instead of something to be exploited. I apologize if you can hear a train in the background. But then also as well, so Countess Cor de who was an infamous peace activist in the later parts of the 1800s. In 1897, she invented the peace flag with the colors. And so along with the peace flag, she also came up with 7 rules of harmony by which one should live by to help foster a more like peaceful, equitable role. And I feel that rule number 5 really ties in well with everything that we said and really is embodied within all that we do here at the Center for International Ethics and educating individuals on positive history. So it reads as follows. Treat all birds and beasts and all existences of the animals and vegetable world with justice and gentleness. Do not destroy, save for self-preservation and for the protection of the weak. Instead, make it your object to plant, to nourish, and to propagate all that will lead to the moral and physical construction of the family, the home, and the nation, along with the world. And so that's pretty much it. You begin at the individual level. Institutions from maybe as small as Central Michigan to as large as the United Nations are all just composites of individuals just like you and I. It's about reaching them. It's about educating and making them feel a care for what we all have passion about, propagating a better world for all. And so while it may seem daunting in which to try to go out and influence these huge institutions, when you just realize that there's just abstractions of individuals, that if you can begin by trying to influence and shape an individual's own thoughts and construction of their world, for one, in which they will induce their own revolution of thought through the encountering with new ideas, perspectives, and lenses on life, that is how you're going to begin the process of forming a world in which everyone is more well off, which will only in turn then end up benefiting the environment.
Thank you all so much for that, and I really appreciate the diversity and the different answers, and we're really touching on like all scopes of sustainability here, from the environmental, cultural, social, human, philosophical sustainability. We need every perspective, and so I think one thing I really loved about all of your presentations is that in some way or another you touched on community, and I think community is absolutely essential to sustainability, and we need community in every RSO, in every dorm, in every city, state, county. You need to build a community so that people feel a sense of belonging, essentially, and then they'll begin to take care of the people around them. So it's this chain reaction where you can start with one individual and provide the support to them, and you can do that in your organizations and beyond to make the world better. So I guess kind of bouncing off that, at CMU, how can your organization help to create a better sense of community, and what do you think CMU should do to kind of provide more value to people pursuing sustainability and the students who care about this, and how can we really work to make CMU better?
I think that for starters, the fact that we have clubs like the ones here today is a great start to keeping us accountable for being sustainable. I love seeing all the clubs on campus that are working and really geared towards sustainability and being environmentally friendly. But as a whole, I think CMU stressing on a larger scale the idea of sustainability is important. Something that I know that Abby and Take Back the Tap have been working with is meeting with President Davies. So going to not just within your organization, but higher up, and talking to those people who are actually in charge and people who can make a difference for CMU itself as like a school. I think that legislation can be put in place, and there's probably a lot of things that CMU currently has in place to keep them sustainable, but there's a lot of things, especially when it comes to cafeterias and stores on campus. There are things that they can do to be more sustainable. And I think clubs like these ones here today can do a really great job of pushing and voicing why they think that it's important to get these larger organizations more accountable, I guess.
Yeah, so the Sierra Club's attitude towards sustainability on CMU's campus is that we're doing great, but we can always be doing more. So, in our meetings and stuff, we usually talk about, we like to talk about, the successes and downfalls of where, sustainability is headed on CMU's campus. So, some of the good things is new infrastructure on campus that is making a more sustainable campus. So like, EHS, the biosciences building, all these new things that are coming to campus are creating a lot more sustainability. I believe those are, I can't remember exactly what the term is for, but they're like our green buildings on campus. They have, at the rooftop, well, gardens, and I believe there's some, yeah. But and we're doing great in our food waste program as well. We won several EPA awards with that. However, we are lacking in several other aspects. One example of this would be a friend of mine and the vice president of Sierra Club right now, actually, Sarah Bidgood, authored some legislation that I don't think it was ever introduced to SGA, but she authored it and heavily, heavily investigated it about replacing all of the paper towel dispensers in bathrooms across campus with air hand dryers, because that is much more sustainable. The electricity cost is the electricity carbon footprint is less than what it is for having the paper towels that we have right now that are disposable, end up in a landfill, all that stuff. There was support from the university, but the thing is, so many of our buildings on campus are so old and outdated that there's not the possibility to have those put in to like new, into places that they need to be. So because we're such an old campus that has lots of, old buildings built in the 50s and 60s, any, green technology and stuff that's able to change where we're the way able to positively impact our carbon footprint on CMU, it's not possible for that kind of stuff to be introduced. So I think a big thing that Sierra Club is going to be doing is collaborating more with the university as the university moves forward in their master plan with renovations, expansions, tearing down certain buildings, building new ones. There's some apartments that may be being built soon. We want to make sure that anything new that's happening to campus has the possibility and will be more sustainable than what is currently here. So that's our attitude toward most of the sustainability on campus. We like to collaborate with other organizations, just as everyone else here does. That's why we're here, is for collaborative efforts, because that's where we get the most done, really, is collaborating with other groups. Because one group alone on campus, or even just CMU as a whole, being an island, and sea of academia, it doesn't help. We need to collaborate with other institutions as well to become more sustainable.
I would definitely agree with a lot of what Max said, that CMU has been doing some good things. And as Megan mentioned, we've worked directly with Vice President of Finance Administration, Nick Long. We've met with President Davies twice this past semester, talking to them about our campaign and talking to them about, you make commitments to social responsibility and sustainability, but there are several areas that you need to do better and that you can do better. And because we have support from other organizations and we've shown that, we are working with President Davies to pull water bottle out of some of our contracts, which is a huge step for Take Back the Tap. But like Max said, there's still so many places that CMU can do better. And like the first and biggest thing that they can do is put more funding to sustainability, which means making a sustainability office of some sort where not all the work is put on to students doing amazing work, but they also are students and aren't full-time staff, and they need extra funding and extra support because Eric and Teresa have done amazing work, and they need more support from the university. And in that same vein, I think when we create a sustainability office, there's this opportunity to incorporate a sustainability lens into every single thing that the university does. I know that they passed the sustainable purchasing guidelines that Eric helped put through this past fall. So holding the university accountable to these actions that they take to make sure that their commitments to sustainability actually turn into real action on campus and in the community. And I think it's also really important that the university is transparent in what they're doing, because if we can't find the information about who they're invested in, where they have contracts to, where certain money is coming and going, then we can't be effective advocates to make CMU more sustainable. So if we want to be a university that's equitable and sustainable and welcoming to everybody, we have to know exactly what's going on campus and not have things happen behind closed doors. And when we have transparency, there should also be more bringing people into the space. So being able to bring in students, faculty, and staff into all decisions and actually listening to what they have to say rather than just leaving it to the highest administration to make decisions when maybe the students or faculty or staff have other perspectives that would be better for the community. CMU also needs to divest all of their funds from fossil fuels and from any other problematic corporations that are involved in exploiting communities, whether that's here in the US or whether that's abroad. Also, they need to stop exploiting students too, and that comes in our work with water privatization, where students are actually being exploited when they feel the need, when they end up buying plastic water bottles, because there should be the infrastructure on campus to provide them access to clean water. And that's the university's responsibility to support students in that way. And we could say the same thing for other basic needs. Students shouldn't have to be worried about whether they can feed themselves every day. They should be able to have food. They should be able to have shelter. They should be able to have clothing. And they shouldn't have to try to be spending money on an education that then costs them these basic needs. And my last point would be that we need more infrastructure, like what Max was saying, related to waste, because I think CMU is doing an amazing job with what they can. And Jay mentioned that with policies in the state of Michigan, we're doing the best that we can. But I do think that there's more to be done where we can do more education and outreach. And if CMU supports that more, then it can reach more people. And also shifting to renewable energy and not being afraid to be creative and how we go about to shifting these infrastructures. So like Michigan State has solar panels over parking lots. Like, what if we did that? There's so many parking lots, and then CMU could actually be saving money in the long run if they implement more of these solar panels. And then just overall considering carbon footprints, considering the climate crisis, and absolutely everything that CMU does.
Yes, and I will echo many of the same points that have been brought up by the three other panelists, which were all really amazing. Two words, truly, collaboration and institutionalization. For collaboration between all of our organizations, there's an amazing quote from E.C. Foster: "Only connect, live in fragments no longer," that all of our issues help to labor towards the same cause. And for any one institution or organization to think that they have the ability to go at it alone, you don't. You need the diverse perspectives. You need the other energies. You need the influences of other voices and what everyone can bring to the table. And so I definitely feel that everything that has been put into making Earth Week at CMU, that has been very emblematic of that. And then that just needs to continue further outreach and interactions with other organizations who may feel that they have no connection to sustainability, and then demonstrating and educating them, yes, you do have a connection, and this is the reasons why you need to care. Then institutionalization. There needs to be an Office of Sustainability at Central Michigan University. That is a fact. If the work that has been done is helping to further the institution to make it look good on a national, international scale, then the institution should really be reinvesting into that infrastructure that is giving it such recognition and creds. So to do that, there needs to be an office in which individuals can continue to work and labor for that, and putting full-time staff people to ensure that the institution is moving in that direction. I completely agree with Abby that the transparency is most certainly needed, that for us to be able to be completely educated on what the institution is doing and then advocate on those certain points, there needs to be access to that information. And another really good point, remain annoying. You need, the institution is this, like, think of it as this large lumbering beast, and you need to remain like the little gadfly that's going to constantly go around and sting and bite and cause noise, and to present them with whether it's certain water bottle initiatives or other educational efforts that are going on, that's going to create noise. It's easy for the institution to just continue to lumber along on its own, but it needs that annoyance, that factor that's going to cause it to hang on, hopefully shake and wake up and say, okay, this is like, I need to truly lift the blinders off my eyes and see what is going around. And then hopefully when they remove the blinders, they see all the facts and evidence that has been presented to their feet by all the individuals who work here to help foster an institution that will meet all the goals that our organizations have set out. So, and yeah, that continues through the efforts we have been doing here. That's more Earth Weeks at CMUs. That's more panels like this. There's more outreach to the individuals that represent the nucleus of power at Central Michigan University, the board. It is interacting with them. It is showing them that they have a stake in this too. And where is their influence coming from? Tapping those individuals to then influence them. It is all interconnected, much like us. But we're on the side laboring for that instead of the ones kind of lumbering along with all these various influences that are whispering in their ear. We are the ones on the outside that are going to be doing the annoying part, but in the end, it'll be worth it. And I think that if it helps to influence and change the world in any sort of way for the better, then hey, the annoyance is more than worth it on the institution's behalf.
All right, well, thank you for all those answers. I appreciate, firstly, I appreciate the enthusiasm that you always bring, Michael, but I also want to say thank you for your kind words, Abby. I put this question in there not to necessarily elicit a certain response, although I'm not surprised that the answer is collaboration and institutionalization, as Michael pointed out. I put that in there because, you know, we I think we all value honesty here. And so, you know, this could be a very like surface level thing, but at the same time, an aspect of sustainability in general is being able to self-reflect, being able to assess, self-assess, and see where we could do better. And I think, Max, your point that you made about how we're doing great, but we could always be doing better is very true here. And it's with that sort of message that this question was put in here, not to necessarily, you know, kind of down, you know, like kind of, I don't want to trash the institution here with that. That wasn't the purpose, but it was to recognize that there are areas for improvement, and this is something that you know, Eric, definitely through, you know, I'm gonna push this to Eric. Stars, we went from silver to gold within the last 3 years, and Stars is this sustainability tracking assessment reporting system. Little redundant from some of those words in that acronym, but anyway, Stars, an institutional report, bunch of universities take it, and so it's kind of how they gauge, you know, their sustainability, and it does incorporate the social and all of the intersections of it in the report. I highly recommend if you want to like learn more about the institution to look through that report. It's very insightful and very telling. But we went from silver to gold, and gold is a very great rating. Gold is not very many institutions are at gold, but you know, it took a lot to get there, and we can't just stay there. You know, it's a big jump between silver and gold, but it's huge. It's even bigger between gold and platinum. And not that it's necessarily about pursuing those titles and those labels, but just understanding that there's always something more and something that we could be doing to be better. So looking forward, you know, as we always are, live in fragments no longer. Um, like what is the future of your organizations? Like what would you like to see from your you know, different organizations in the future?
I think to keep it short and sweet, for my organization, I would love to see a continuation of members who are passionate about sustainability. And I think something that I've thought about this past semester a lot is the legacy that we can leave behind, and that by bringing in members and people of the CMU community to continue this passion for environmental justice would be a great way to keep them accountable of sustainability. And just overall, from the organization, I would love to see more on-campus events, especially in light of COVID, more events on campus that can get people involved. And I think that that should be one of the biggest goals, is keeping people and CMU students involved and aware of sustainability.
So for Sierra Club, our future, I think we have a very bright future ahead of us, but it's a little bit murky as to what that might be, really. So, like I said, we are relatively new. We've only been around since February of 2019, but realistically, we've only been around doing more than like posting on Instagram since August. Because of everything that happened with COVID, there was no way that we could really get, since couldn't we couldn't put something virtual in the spring because there was nothing to put virtual in the first place. So um, I think going forward, we want to continue the work that we're doing, that we have done with outreach towards other organizations and towards the community and helping to pick up, different areas around Mount Pleasant and Michigan, but also want to expand on that a lot. So one, recruiting more people. I think right now we have about 25 full-time members this semester, which is pretty good right now for, in terms of COVID, but I'd like more people than that. And I'd like to get a more heavy presence in advocating for the environment. So, Michael says stay annoying. Well, we're going to be the annoying people for the state government, for legislators, with the Sierra Club. I mean, that's our whole thing obviously, preserve, advocate, explore. It takes the advocate as well up to another level to, trying to meet with legislators and important people from, state government to make sure that what's, happening in government reflects the values of of Michiganders and what we want to see with the environment. So one example of this would be the PFAS Action Act, which is coming up to a vote again. It was passed last January in the House and failed in the Senate. And basically it would be limiting the amount of PFAS that could go in the water, which it's a long chemical name that I can't remember offhand, but it comes from fire extinguisher stuff. So it's not great. Anyways, so, one of our things for our scavenger hunt that we did this week for Earth Week was reach out to your politician and tell them to vote in favor of this, because if it fails again, that is not good. Because this is, yeah, so that kind of stuff, but expanding so that that's more frequent. And then, of course, explore. We have not done much of that besides a few socially distanced masked up hikes like in Isabella County. Of course, we want to do more of that, because the more that we learn about the environment firsthand, experiencing it responsibly, the better we can protect it. So that's what I'd like to see.
Take Back the Tap is also going to stay annoying. I can guarantee that, and I would like them to still be annoying, because we still want to make sure that President Davies and Nick Long and the administrations is accountable to the commitments they told us that they were going to make. And I would love to see Take Back the Tap once we're getting plastic water bottles out of the stores, which could happen within the next year. I'd like them to expand what they're doing and look at other areas in which they can be annoying, whether that is divesting from fossil fuels, whether that is other waste streams. I know we're now a member of Post Landfill Action Network, and that's what they do, is helping universities shift to zero waste infrastructure and helping students implement that on their campuses. And in order to do that, we definitely need more people. And so I'd love to see more people involved with Take Back the Tap. But more importantly, I really hope that the people at Take Back the Tap continue to be a part of the larger sustainability efforts with these other organizations that I've been fortunate to work with, and that we are able to help out Central Sustainability in their advocacy efforts, that we can help out with Central Sustainability when you all have aspects that we can help with, and making a student sustainability committee a regular thing, and that Take Back the Tap can be a part of building that community and making sure that intersectional environmentalism is at the heart of everything they do, and making sure that everybody on campus knows that as well.
Yes, this Earth Week at CMU thing, I must admit, it has been quite new for the Center for International Ethics. While we are based within CMU, most of our work is conducted out in the world, whether it's hosting master classes in The Hague, Netherlands, traveling to Seoul, South Korea for peace conferences, Southeast Asia, going to the Hiroshima Peace Memorial Museum. So it has been a really nice perceptual shift to come back inward, which I think is important to understand your roots, your foundation, that you need to tend, care for the foundation upon which you rest. And so certainly in the future for the Center for International Ethics, I think this collaborative effort has been absolutely incredible. What has come out of it has been amazing. The personal connections I have been able to form with amazing individuals who labor for the betterment of the world within their own in their own unique ways, and absolutely honor, incredible thing to be able to experience. And so definitely continue to collaborate with those at the grassroots level is essential. And then also getting those international partners that we have out in the world to use their influence back here to help further all the causes that we care for, whether it's individuals who advocate and cross the demilitarized zone in between North and South Korea, getting them to come back here and then advocate for that, whether it's our connections in Europe, whether it's our connections in other parts of Southeast Asia. It is bringing those individuals back here using the network that we have been able to establish to come back here and then educate those from Central Michigan about the issues and why it is all interconnected and tied back into this area. So that is certainly an effort that the Center for International Ethics and myself will continue to labor for.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much all for those amazing answers. And then before we transition to this next portion with the Campus Race to Zero Waste, I just wanted to thank you all for the amazing work that you've done over the past year, 1, 2, 3, or 4 years for some of you. Abby Shepard at CMU, you've done amazing work, and we are just so happy that all of your organizations can be here. So for anyone listening right now, or who listens to this recording in the future, I just want to encourage you to join one of these organizations, or all of them. The Student Environmental Alliance and Take Back the Tap and Sierra Club are all these amazing RSOs that you can get involved with. And then I'm sure Hope May or Michael Buzzy can come up with some way for you to engage with the Center for International Ethics. So yeah, please look into that, go on, engage, or just reach out to any of us. We would definitely be willing to help. So then for this next portion, I'm going to talk about the Campus Race to Zero Waste a little bit, and then we are going to announce the award winners at CMU. So this year, the Campus Race to Zero Waste was a little bit odd since it was more of a virtual environment. Typically, there would be these in-person events and game day challenges and public waste audits where people could come watch or help dig through trash. And that didn't really happen this year. So it was kind of weird to be a part of the effort to adapt to that. And I'd like to thank Teresa for making all of these amazing videos just to inspire the community. I think there's like 5 or 6 of them now, totaling like 800 to 1,000 viewers between them all. So that has just been some great work. I was in the videos, but I did not help produce them. That was all Teresa. So yes, the Race to Zero Waste. I was doing a lot of the data this year, and it was pretty inspiring to see the improvement. Every week, CMU throws away about 40,000 pounds of trash. But throughout the Campus Race to Zero Waste, we started throwing away, composting about 11,000 pounds per week. And then by the end of the competition, we were composting 13 to 15,000 pounds per week. And I think that's a testament to what you can do virtually just by educating people, and why we need to have meaningful conversations. And so people can adjust their values or stick with their values and just do better environmental practices. It does not matter if you are Democratic, Republican, Independent, whatever you want to believe in. I mean, you can help, and everyone is a stakeholder when it comes to the earth. So for that reason, I think everyone can engage in things like the Campus Race to Zero Waste during the spring, but you can also do that all year. And that kind of resonates with the whole concept that every day is Earth Day. So now we are super excited to announce the winners of the Campus Race to Zero Waste. There was this competition this year between the 4 residential communities, North, East, South, and Towers. And so over the course of these 8 weeks, we measured which communities recycled the most per person. So I will kick it off with Michael Buzzy, who is going to announce 4th place.
Yes, in 4th place for the Campus Race to Zero Waste, we have South.
Awesome, thank you. And then Teresa.
South, that was 6.6 pounds per person. And so in 3rd place, we have Towers, which they were able to recycle 8.3 pounds per person.
Thank you. And then Max?
All right, so in second place at 12.2 pounds per person of recycled objects, it is East Community.
Awesome. And then Abby?
And in first place, we have my old home, the North Community, who recycled 13.1 pounds per person.
Awesome. So thank you so much to all these communities for participating. And it was pretty astounding to see how the green teams made an impact, really. And I will say, looking at all this data, East had this competition up until week 6, but then North kicked off green teams in week 7, and that kind of like bumped it ahead. So it was pretty inspiring to see how that like education and outreach was able to make the difference. So thank you all. So then the trophies are going to be delivered on Monday, and then we will be announcing this again Monday night at the RHA Awards. So tune into that if you're interested. And so finally, before we conclude, I just have a bunch of people to thank. So first, I'd like to thank the CMU Office of Institutional Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, as well as Facilities Management, for supporting central sustainability and the further institutionalization of sustainability at CMU. Beyond that, I'd like to thank Hope May and the CMU Center for International Ethics, as well as Michael Buzzy for making these connections between peace and sustainability and kind of educating us all that this is interdisciplinary and that we need to focus on world peace along with sustainability, and you can't have one without the other. So then finally, I would love to thank Abby Shepard, Max Ranger, Michael Buzzy, Sarah Bidgood, Maddie Thomas, Lindsay Gibb, and Teresa Homsi for all being these amazing leaders who helped us to put together Earth Week at CMU. You are all phenomenal people, and we are so thankful that you have been able to help us put this together. I mean, it was really a phenomenal week, and although there's 1 or 2 events left, like we are so happy with how it has turned out. And like in this virtual world, it is very difficult, but these recordings will live on the Central Sustainability website and our YouTube, and we can share them around and inspire people to make a difference. So I'd love to thank you all. So then, before we conclude, I would just like to invite Lindsay Gibb to talk for a minute about the event that's happening tonight. So Lindsay, go ahead.
Hi, everybody. So tonight at 6:30, we have a Central Sustainability Alumni panel. So we're going to be bringing in 3 alumni who were pretty heavily involved with sustainability here at CMU. And then some of them have continued that after they've graduated in their vocations. And so I hope you all will come. I'm going to drop the WebEx link in the chat. I think it's going to be awesome. I'm really excited to hear from all of them. And then I also want to say thank you to everyone who's here. Listening to you all talk about institutional change just gets me so fired up. No CMU pun intended, but it just makes me so happy to see all of this incredible work being done and really proud too. So yes, I hope you will come to that, and I'm very excited.
So thank you all so much. Then with that, we are concluding this panel, but that does not conclude our efforts. I'm sure I'll be talking to all of you in the future, and we can do what we can to make a difference at CMU and beyond. So have a great night, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.